I have worked at places before, and you're not quite sure the business is operating at full speed or highly functional. And it always comes down to one thing. Everybody's asking, who's running this place? Who's making these decisions? In Miami, you know it's Spoelstra, and you know it's Pat Riley. In Golden State, it was Bob Myers. It was Steve Kerr. Who's making the decisions here? With the Lakers, we're never quite sure who's making the decisions. Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, or LeBron. I saw this story this morning. Chris Paul to the Laker rumors. Heating up. Who's running this place? If that comes to fruition, LeBron is running the Lakers. Because here's what they need. More accurate three-point shooting, more dynamic, more youth, and somebody, because of LeBron's age and AD's brittleness, that can give you 70 games a year and big minutes. 7 seasons since Chris Paul gave you over 70 games. LeBron over the last 3 years has averaged 52, and AD over the last 3 years has averaged 44. The last thing in the world the Lakers need is another old star that gives you 53 games. It would be a mess in Los Angeles. I saw this headline. And by the way, is this LeBron's people putting it out there, trying to create inertia and steam and momentum? Chris Paul's dreamed of playing with the Lakers, says the headline. So what? They're not Disneyland. Lakers aren't into making your dreams come true. I once dreamed of being George Clooney. Who gives a rip who Chris Paul has dreamed of playing for? I like Chris Paul, but two things are true. A heavy winter jacket and Chris Paul in Boston are perfect. They're both useless in Los Angeles. He doesn't fit here. He doesn't. He's old, expensive, and brittle. That is the opposite of what the Lakers need. But increasingly, we have asked ourselves this question, and this is what you ask yourself all the time for an organization that was once proud. Could be baseball, football, NBA, MLS, could be anybody. Who's running this place? Rob Pelinka, as a GM, cannot think this is a good idea. It's a bad idea. Even Westbrook, who didn't work, when they made the move, I argued he's available, he's productive, he gives you minutes, he plays hard, he plays often. I love Chris Paul in Boston because they have two young, dynamic, athletic stars in their prime that give you 70 games and big minutes. LeBron's averaging 52 games, AD 44, and AD just came off his longest streak of playing consecutively. That puppy won't last. So as we all age, you fit in fewer places. All you need to know, if this thing gains any steam at all, LeBron is running the Lakers. Because you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid acknowledges, I don't draft the players. Brett Veach does that. I don't do that. I use the offense. Andy Reid doesn't even worry about defense. That's Steve Spagnuolo. I know exactly who's running every part of Kansas City and Golden State and Miami. Chris Paul to the Lakers is a classic who's running this place scenario. All right, so we're after the finals wrap up, you have the NBA draft, and then J-Mac and I, we're gonna pull up to the professional and college football buffet for 6 months, and we're gonna gorge. So one of the things we disagree with, sometimes I try to talk him into things, he tries to talk me into things. The one thing we agree on is that Russell Wilson is not washed. We're in the minority. There's even people in the league that think Russell Wilson is washed. J-Mac does and I don't. Not sure how you feel. Garrett Bowles, their best offensive lineman, who missed last year with an injury, he's all in on Russ.
He's a great dude. You know, he's the same guy every single day. He works his butt off. And, you know, I'm ready for that stuff to go away. And when it goes, you know, everyone's going to eat crow. I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the game in the last 10 years. I mean, stats don't lie. Just because you have one rough season, you can't dictate the type of guy and his personality and what he goes through.
So there's really no historical precedent for Russell Wilson going from 4 really good years, 3 really good years, final years in Seattle, to what we saw last year. So here's what we saw in Seattle his last several years. 3 years, 66% completion percentage, 33 touchdowns, 8 picks, and a 106 quarterback rating, and winning 10 games. That was the average. By the way, with a very poor offensive line and running back by committee. So it's not like he had great offensive support. He had a defensive head coach. The O-line was a bit of a mess. They've drafted well, and now it's good. And the running backs were just a bunch of guys, right? Rashad Penny, bunch of guys. Never could stay healthy. And then here's his numbers last year in Denver. Man overboard. Everything plummeted. 4 wins, 60% completion percentage. His touchdown passes were cut in half. And his passer rating, like Trubisky level. So how's it possible? The only comp that is even, well, it's the same city, Denver. Peyton Manning was really, really good, and then he fell off a cliff. But Peyton Manning was 39 years old. Peyton Manning had had 4 neck surgeries. Russell Wilson last year started the season at 33 years old and has never had a major surgery. So there's no historical precedent for it. Really good to washed. Again, he was doing that in Seattle with a bad O-line and B-level running backs. So I believe it all comes down to an 80-20 split. That 80% of last year was Nathaniel Hackett being completely, absolutely over his skis and into conference with really good teams. And then 20% was on Russell Wilson. And where was that 20%? Is that I think Russell Wilson views himself sometimes wrongly as a great pocket passer. No, he has 2 skills that are all-time unique. He has unbelievable instincts, especially late in games and in crisis, third down. He's got really good instincts. He's smart, but his instincts are fantastic. And the second thing is he's uniquely mobile. The way he moves, he never gets hit. There's other guys that are faster, Lamar Jackson, maybe bigger and stronger, Josh Allen. But Russell had like a decade of running around and never getting hit, never getting really tagged. So he is uniquely instinctual and uniquely evasive. I think he has to lean into those again. And for some reason last year, he was very reluctant to do that. He was probably trying to be a good employee. He listened to Hackett, but you could tell by the end of game 1 in Seattle when Hackett couldn't figure the clock out, we're sinking here. I'm gonna take over the vessel. So let's go back to Russell Wilson's numbers last year in Denver. I think with Sean Payton, not only an upgrade in coaching, but arguably the 2nd, 3rd, 4th best coach in the league. I think Russell's numbers are going to go from this for our TV audience to this. 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, 4,100 yards, a passer rating in the mid-60s, a passer rating at 96, and a completion percentage around 65. And what would that be? Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was not a top 4 or 5 quarterback in the NFL last year. What he was capable of having a great game, a great half, a great moment, and leading his team to the playoffs. So that's what I believe Russell Wilson will become. Trevor Lawrence. Not a top 5 guy, although Trevor this year may be, but he'll be capable of getting a team to the playoffs, winning a game with a late drive, more than competent, good in the pocket, not yet great, more mobile than average, very good instincts, bit of a playmaker, not Mahomes, not Allen, not Burrow, maybe not physically Justin Herbert, but somewhere between like 6 and 12 in the NFL. That is my guess. Because there's no precedent for 4 really good years, 3 really good years into awful. There's nothing out there. Peyton Manning's it, and he was 6 years of hits older and 4 neck surgeries in. So that's where we are today. J-Mac, you and I think, agree on most stuff. Most, not all.